The transmission arrived at 3:47 Universal Standard Time, cutting through the vast emptiness of space like a desperate whisper. Deep within the United Earth Command Center, a massive holographic display flickered to life, revealing a cascade of data that would change the course of human history forever. Admiral Elizabeth Reyes studied the incoming message, her weathered fingers tracing the holographic lines that represented civilizations far beyond human comprehension. The message was encrypted in 17 different quantum communication protocols, each layer more complex than the last. Most communication centers would have taken weeks to decode such a transmission. The human team cracked it in 17 minutes. The origins of the message were unlike anything humanity had encountered before. It came from the Galactic Confederation, a massive interstellar alliance that had existed for millennia before humans had even developed reliable space travel. For centuries, Earth had been nothing more than a footnote in their vast databases, a primitive world tucked away in an unremarkable spiral arm of the Milky Way. But something had changed. The holographic display began to populate with images that defied conventional understanding. Entire star systems reduced to cosmic dust. Civilizations with technologies so advanced they seemed like magic, now reduced to mere echoes of their former glory. The Exarchal Horde, a name that would soon become synonymous with absolute destruction, was methodically consuming everything in its path. "This can't be real," muttered Colonel James Harrison, standing beside Admiral Reyes. He was a veteran of Earth's most challenging conflicts, a man who had seen humanity's potential in the darkest moments of global tensions. But this was beyond anything he could have imagined. The Confederation's message was simultaneously a plea and a confession of total defeat. Their most advanced military forces, civilizations that had maintained peace and technological supremacy for thousands of years, had been systematically dismantled by the Exarchal. These were not mere invaders. They were a civilization-level threat that consumed everything in its path, assimilating technologies, destroying ecosystems, and leaving nothing but cosmic waste in their wake. What made the Exarchal truly terrifying was their method of conquest. They didn't just destroy. They absorbed. Every technological advancement, every biological innovation, every strategic insight was immediately integrated into their collective consciousness. Each civilization they encountered made them stronger, more adaptive, more impossible to defeat. The holographic display showed something that made Admiral Reyes pause. Among the destroyed civilizations were races that humanity had always considered impossibly advanced. The quantum harmonics of Zillar Prime, a civilization that could manipulate fundamental universal constants. The neurological networked consciousness of the verdant clusters, beings who could communicate across entire star systems through thought alone. The molecular restructuring collectives of the obsidian rings, who could literally reshape matter at will. All of them destroyed. And now, they were turning their attention toward the remaining free systems, toward Earth. "They want our help," Colonel Harrison said, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. "After centuries of treating us like primitive children, now they're asking us to save them." Admiral Reyes knew the political implications would be massive. Earth had only recently achieved true global unity. The old divisions of countries, continents, and ideological differences had been slowly replaced by a collective human identity. Space exploration and the challenges of maintaining human colonies across the solar system had forced a new kind of cooperation. The United Earth Command had been preparing for potential extraterrestrial threats, but nobody had anticipated something of this magnitude. Their defense strategies had been theoretical, their technological innovations viewed as experimental. No one had truly believed humanity would be called upon to defend not just themselves, but potentially all of known civilization. The transmission contained more than just a plea. It contained complete technical specifications of the Exarchal's known technologies, their attack patterns, their assimilation strategies. It was a complete vulnerability report of the most advanced threat the galaxy had ever encountered. "They're giving us everything," Colonel Harrison whispered. their entire technological and strategic history. Admiral Reyes nodded, her eyes reflecting the holographic destruction. Because we're their last hope. Outside the command center, Earth continued its daily rhythm, unaware that humanity was about to be thrust into a conflict that would define not just their species, but the entire concept of survival in the universe. The XR were coming, and humanity would be their answer. The United Earth Rapid Adaptation Warfare Division wasn't a typical military unit. It was humanity's most unconventional weapon, a program born from generations of global conflict, technological innovation, and an unbreakable human spirit of survival. Major Catherine Rodriguez stood in the training complex, her cybernetic eye scanning the assembled team. Each member was a living testament to human potential, individuals who defied traditional military categorization. They weren't just soldiers. They were problem solvers, innovators, and masters of controlled chaos. Dr. Michael Chen, a quantum physicist with 3 doctorates and a background in guerrilla warfare tactics, caught Rodriguez's glance. His fingers danced across a holographic interface, simultaneously running complex simulations and designing adaptive combat algorithms. Next to him, Sarah Martinez, a former street engineer from the reclaimed urban zones of South America, was modifying tactical equipment with nothing more than a multi-tool and an intuitive understanding of technological improvisation. The room itself was a marvel of human ingenuity. Walls constructed from adaptive nanomaterials could reconfigure themselves based on tactical needs. Holographic training scenarios flickered between different environmental conditions, from dense urban landscapes to zero-gravity combat zones. Each scenario was designed to push human adaptability to its absolute limits. "We're not just preparing for a war," Rodriguez said, her voice cutting through the controlled chaos of the training environment. "We're preparing to redefine the concept of conflict itself." The team represented a radical departure from traditional military thinking. Military strategists from other civilizations would have been confused by their approach. Where most species developed specialized units with rigid roles, humans created a fluid, adaptive team where every member could seamlessly transition between multiple functions. Jack Williams, a former deep-sea exploration engineer, stood near a complex array of modular combat systems. His expertise in extreme environment survival had been crucial in developing equipment that could function across multiple planetary conditions. Next to him, Dr. Aisha Nakamura, a neurological warfare specialist, was developing psychological disruption technologies that went far beyond traditional communication jamming. The XR's primary strength was their collective consciousness, a hive mind system that processed information with machine-like precision. Humanity's response was to introduce something the XR could never comprehend: genuine, unpredictable creativity. "Our greatest weapon," Dr. Chen explained during a strategic briefing, "is our ability to break our own rules." Most advanced civilizations develop complex systems that become their greatest weakness. We create systems designed to be broken. The training scenarios became increasingly complex. One moment, the team would be simulating a traditional military engagement. The next, they would completely deconstruct those tactics, finding solutions that defied conventional military doctrine. A defensive position would suddenly become an offensive opportunity. A seemingly disadvantageous terrain would transform into a strategic advantage. Rodriguez watched as Sarah Martinez reprogrammed a defensive shield generator to function as an offensive quantum disruption weapon. It was a perfect representation of human innovation, taking a tool designed for protection and reimagining its entire purpose. "The Confederation thinks they understand us," Williams remarked, reviewing the latest simulation data. "They see our technological progression, our industrial history, but they don't understand what makes humans truly dangerous." Dr. Nakamura nodded. "Unpredictability, emotional intelligence, the ability to make decisions that defy pure logical calculation." Each team member brought something unique. Jack Williams understood complex environmental systems. Dr. Chen could deconstruct and rebuild technological frameworks in real time. Sarah Martinez possessed an intuitive understanding of technological improvisation that bordered on artistic creativity. Dr. Nakamura could analyze psychological systems with surgical precision. But it was their collective potential that made them truly extraordinary. The final training simulation of the day pushed them to their absolute limits. A scenario that simulated the Xarcal's most advanced invasion technique, a multi-dimensional attack that targeted biological, technological, and psychological systems simultaneously. Where other civilizations would have been overwhelmed, the human team saw an opportunity. "We're not just going to survive," Major Rodriguez said, her cybernetic eye calibrating to the complex holographic battlefield. "We're going to rewrite the fundamental understanding of conflict." As the simulation reached its most intense moment, something remarkable happened. The team didn't just adapt. They transformed the entire engagement, turning a seemingly impossible scenario into a demonstration of human potential. The Xarcal were coming, and humanity was ready. Not just to fight, but to completely change the rules of engagement. The deployment coordinates arrived with minimal fanfare. Sector Omega-9, a star system that the Galactic Confederation had already written off as lost. 50 humans would be sent where entire advanced civilizations had been systematically erased. Captain Daniel Rodriguez, no relation to Major Catherine Rodriguez, stood at the helm of the Starhawk, a vessel that defied every conventional understanding of spacecraft design. It wasn't sleek or symmetrical like the ships of other civilizations. It was a living testament to human improvisation. Modular sections that could reconfigure mid-flight, adaptive hull materials that could self-repair, and propulsion systems cobbled together from technologies that were never meant to work together. Incoming transmission. Lieutenant Marcus Chen called out, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface that looked more like an artist's palette than a traditional control system. Confederation final briefing. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a collective of alien representatives. Their forms were translucent, fractured, representatives of civilizations that had already lost everything. Each one looked exhausted, defeated, their collective hope resting on 50 humans who, by most galactic standards, were considered barely space-capable. The lead representative, a crystalline being from the luminous concordance, spoke first. "You represent our final option. Our mathematically calculated probability of survival is less than 0.3%. Captain Rodriguez allowed himself a slight smile. "Probabilities have never been our strong suit. The deployment was anything but traditional. Where other military forces would have approached with massive fleets and overwhelming firepower, the human team arrived with something far more dangerous: complete unpredictability. The Starhawk entered the contested system like a phantom. Traditional scanning methods would barely register its approach. Adaptive camouflage systems developed by Sarah Martinez allowed the ship to blend with cosmic radiation, quantum interference, and the background electromagnetic noise of the star system. Dr. Elena Reyes, the mission's primary scientific officer, was monitoring quantum entanglement communication channels. Her system wasn't just gathering intelligence, it was actively disrupting the Xarcal's information networks, introducing subtle inconsistencies that would grow like a cancer in their collective consciousness. "Target acquisition is non-standard," Marcus Chen remarked. His targeting systems didn't just track physical coordinates. They mapped potential psychological vulnerabilities, predicted adaptive responses, and created multi-dimensional engagement strategies that would confuse even the most advanced artificial intelligence. The first engagement happened faster than any of the Confederation observers could comprehend. The Xarcal fleet, a massive array of biomechanical ships that looked like they were grown rather than constructed, detected the human vessel. Their initial response was systematic. Targeting algorithms activated, biological assimilation protocols prepared, invasion subroutines initialized. What happened next defied every known principle of space combat. The Starhawk didn't just evade, it danced. Quantum displacement drives allowed the ship to exist in multiple potential locations simultaneously. Weapon systems that looked like they were cobbled together from spare parts delivered precision strikes that disabled critical XARCL communication nodes. Jack Williams, the mission's environmental specialist, had developed a series of adaptive electromagnetic pulses that didn't just disable technology. They introduced cascading system failures that spread like a virus through the XARCL fleet. "We're not fighting their technology," Captain Rodriguez explained to his crew. "We're fighting their understanding of technology." In less than 17 minutes, the human team had done what entire advanced civilizations could not. They hadn't just survived an encounter with the XARCL. They had fundamentally disrupted their invasion strategy. The Confederation observers watched in stunned silence. Dr. Elena Reyes was already analyzing the engagement data, not just the physical metrics. Those were almost irrelevant. She was mapping the psychological impact. How the XARCL's perfect, mathematically precise systems had been introduced to genuine, unpredictable chaos. "They're confused," she reported, her voice a mixture of scientific precision and genuine excitement. "We've introduced an element they cannot mathematically calculate." As the Starhawk prepared to jump to its next coordinates, the alien representatives remained silent. Their holographic forms flickered, a visual representation of their collective disbelief. 50 humans had just changed the entire mathematical understanding of galactic conflict. And they were just getting started. Lieutenant Michael Thompson understood something fundamental about conflict that most military strategists missed entirely. War was not about destruction, but about breaking consciousness. The psychological warfare laboratory looked nothing like a traditional military facility. Holographic interfaces danced with complex algorithms. Quantum communication devices hummed with potential. Walls were covered in neural mapping displays that looked more like abstract art than military intelligence. "The XARCL believe they're invincible," Thompson explained to his team, "because they've never encountered an enemy that doesn't think like a machine." Dr. Aisha Nakamura, the team's lead neurological warfare specialist, had spent years developing what she called cognitive disruption protocols. These were not traditional communication jammers or electronic warfare systems. They were sophisticated psychological viruses designed to introduce something that XARCL collective consciousness had never experienced: genuine uncertainty. The XARCL's primary strength was their unified, mathematically precise collective intelligence. Every individual was connected through a quantum neural network that processed information with absolute precision. No individual XARCL could truly experience independent thought. They were a perfect, seamless machine of biological and technological integration. Perfection, as the human team knew, was always the greatest vulnerability. "We're going to introduce chaos," Thompson said, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface. "Not through destruction, through confusion." The first cognitive disruption protocol was elegantly simple. Most military strategists would have attempted to destroy the XARCL's communication networks. The human team did something far more subtle. They began introducing microscopic inconsistencies. A communication signal that arrived 0.00003 seconds later than expected. A tactical assessment with a fractional mathematical error. A strategic projection with an imperceptible emotional undertone. To a human, these would seem meaningless. To the XARCL's perfect collective consciousness, they were profound disruptions. Dr. Nakamura had spent years studying collective intelligence systems. Her breakthrough came from an unexpected source: studying human crowd psychology, internet misinformation networks, and the complex ways that individual uncertainties could cascade into massive systemic failures. "Doubt," she often told her team, "is the most powerful weapon in existence." The team developed what they called semantic viruses, communication packages that looked like standard information transfer but contained subtle psychological triggers. These weren't traditional computer viruses. They were linguistic constructs designed to introduce cognitive dissonance. In the first deployment, they targeted a XARCL communication relay near the Obsidian cluster. The results were unprecedented. The collective consciousness began to experience something it had never known: hesitation. Minor tactical decisions became points of internal debate. Strategic assessments developed microscopic variations. For the first time in their known history, individual charcoal began to experience something resembling individual thought. "We're not destroying their network," Thompson explained during a mission briefing. "We're teaching them how to doubt." The psychological warfare team worked in shifts, constantly developing new cognitive disruption protocols. Sarah Martinez, with her background in urban engineering and communication systems, developed adaptive linguistic algorithms that could modify themselves in real time. Jack Williams contributed by developing environmental simulation models that introduced subtle emotional variables into the Xarcal's communication networks. These weren't just mathematical models. They were complex representations of uncertainty, of possibility, of genuine unpredictability. Dr. Elena Reyes monitored the results, her scientific precision capturing every microscopic change in the Xarcal's communication patterns. What they were doing was beyond traditional warfare. They were conducting a massive, galaxy-wide psychological experiment. "Look," she said during one monitoring session, pointing to a holographic display. "Their collective decision-making process is developing fractures." Where the Xarcal had once moved with absolute mathematical precision, their invasion forces now showed signs of hesitation. Tactical deployments became slightly less efficient. Strategic assessments developed minute variations. The Confederation observers were bewildered. Their most advanced scientific teams couldn't comprehend how 50 humans were systematically dismantling the most advanced collective intelligence in the known universe. But the human team understood something fundamental. In a perfect system, uncertainty is the most powerful weapon. They weren't just fighting a war. They were introducing the Xarcal to the most dangerous concept in existence, the possibility of being wrong. Dr. Robert Williams stood in the heart of the United Earth Advanced Research Complex, surrounded by what could only be described as controlled chaos. The laboratory was a testament to human ingenuity, a space where conventional technological boundaries ceased to exist. Captured Xarcal technology lay dismantled across massive workstations, where other civilizations would have approached these advanced systems with reverence and caution. The human team saw something different. They saw potential. They saw opportunities. "Technology is just a language waiting to be reinterpreted," Williams often told his team. And right now, they were about to have a profound conversation. Sarah Martinez moved between workstations, her hands a blur of motion. A weapon designed for planetary destruction in one moment became a precision communication relay in the next. A biological assimilation tool was transformed into a defensive shield generator that could adapt faster than any known technological system. The Confederation's scientific observers watched in a mixture of horror and fascination. Their most advanced research teams had spent centuries studying Xarcal technology, developing complex analysis protocols. The humans were rewriting those technologies in real time, with what seemed like pure intuition. Dr. Elena Reyes was mapping the molecular structures of the captured technologies. But her approach was anything but traditional. Where other researchers would create detailed, linear analysis models, she was developing adaptive mapping systems that could predict technological potential rather than just document existing capabilities. "We're not just studying their technology," she explained to the bewildered Confederation scientists. "We're learning how to speak their technological language. And then we're going to change the entire conversation." Jack Williams brought a unique perspective to the team. His background in deep-sea exploration and extreme environment engineering meant he understood something fundamental about technological adaptation. Technologies were not fixed systems. They were living, breathing entities that could be coaxed, reshaped, and fundamentally reimagined. A Xarcal communication node that was designed for instantaneous collective information transfer became, in Williams' hands, a sophisticated early warning system that could predict invasion trajectories with unprecedented accuracy. The original designers would have found the modification incomprehensible. Michael Chen, the quantum physicist, was developing what the team called adaptive algorithm clusters. These were not traditional computer programs. They were living technological ecosystems that could modify themselves in real time, learning and adapting faster than any known artificial intelligence system. The breakthrough came during what seemed like a routine analysis session. Dr. Williams was examining a charcoal biological warfare module, a terrifying piece of technology designed to systematically break down cellular structures of any encountered life form. Most research teams would have approached it with extreme caution, developing defensive protocols. The human team did something entirely different. They began to understand the module's fundamental communication protocols, not just its mechanical functions, but the underlying linguistic structure of its technological consciousness. "It's not just a weapon," Williams remarked, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface. "It's a communication system, and every communication system can be reinterpreted." Within hours, the team had transformed the biological warfare module into a sophisticated medical regeneration system. A technology designed to destroy was now capable of healing at a cellular level, with adaptive capabilities that surpassed anything in known medical science. The Confederation's scientific team could barely comprehend what they were witnessing. Their most advanced research protocols would have taken decades to achieve a fraction of what the humans were doing in hours. Sarah Martinez was simultaneously working on 3 different captured charcoal technologies. A propulsion system became a revolutionary energy generation method. A defensive shield generator was transformed into a communication network with adaptive encryption capabilities that made current cybersecurity look like children's puzzles. "Limitations are just unfinished innovations," she would often say, her hands moving with an artist's precision and an engineer's ruthless efficiency. The team wasn't just studying alien technology. They were rewriting the fundamental understanding of technological potential. Jack Williams looked up from his workstation, a slight smile crossing his face. "They thought their technology was perfect," he said to no one in particular. "They had no idea what humans do to perfect systems. What the charcoal had developed as ultimate weapons, the humans were transforming into tools of creation, communication, and unprecedented potential. They weren't just fighting a war. They were revolutionizing the entire concept of technological innovation." The Crimson Nebula burned with the remnants of 1,000 destroyed civilizations. Massive energy signatures danced across the cosmic canvas, a battlefield that would redefine the understanding of warfare for generations to come. Captain Daniel Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Starhawk, his cybernetic interface merging with the ship's adaptive systems. Traditional military doctrine suggested retreat or total annihilation. The human strategy defied every known principle of space combat. "Simulation probability," he called out, "means nothing." Lieutenant Marcus Chin's fingers danced across quantum communication interfaces. The ship wasn't just a vessel. It was a living, breathing entity of human innovation. Adaptive hull materials shifted and reconfigured. Propulsion systems that defied traditional physics allowed movement that looked more like organic dance than mechanical navigation. The charcoal fleet approached, a massive armada of biomechanical ships that looked more like grown organisms than constructed vessels. Millions of individual units moved with perfect mathematical precision. A collective consciousness that had consumed countless civilizations, believing itself to be absolutely invincible. They had never encountered humanity. Dr. Elena Reyes monitored the psychological warfare algorithms developed by Michael Thompson. These weren't traditional communication disruption systems. They were complex cognitive viruses designed to introduce uncertainty into the most perfect collective intelligence in the known universe. "Targeting protocols are developing micro-variations," she reported. "Their perfect coordination is fragmenting." Sarah Martinez had spent weeks developing what the team called quantum displacement drives, technology that allowed the Starhawk to exist in multiple potential locations simultaneously. Traditional targeting systems couldn't lock onto a vessel that fundamentally refused to exist in a single predictable space. Jack Williams' environmental modification systems created localized quantum interference fields. These weren't just defensive measures. They were active manipulation of the fundamental fabric of spacetime. The first wave of Starkul attack vessels approached with absolute certainty. What happened next redefined the concept of space combat. The Starhawk didn't just evade. It transformed the entire engagement into something that defied mathematical comprehension. Weapon systems that looked like they were cobbled together from spare parts delivered precision strikes that disabled critical communication nodes. Adaptive electromagnetic pulses spread through the Starkul fleet like a virus of uncertainty. "We're not fighting their technology," Captain Rodriguez explained to his crew. "We're fighting their understanding of technology." Quantum displacement drives allowed the human vessel to exist in multiple potential locations. A single ship appeared to be dozens, then hundreds. Targeting systems collapsed under the weight of computational impossibility. The Starkul collective consciousness experienced something it had never known: genuine confusion. Dr. Rice watched the psychological impact in real time. Their perfect, mathematically precise invasion strategy was developing microscopic fractures. Strategic assessments became hesitant. Tactical deployments lost their absolute precision. Michael Thompson's cognitive disruption protocols reached their peak effectiveness. The Starkul were experiencing something fundamentally impossible in their collective understanding: individual uncertainty. Confederation observation vessels watched in stunned silence. Entire squadrons of Starkul vessels began to act with what could only be described as genuine panic. Their perfect collective intelligence was experiencing something it had never known: the possibility of being wrong. "They're breaking," Marcus Chen reported, his voice a mixture of scientific precision and genuine excitement. "Their collective consciousness is developing individual variations." The battle wasn't won through overwhelming firepower. It was won through the most dangerous weapon in existence: unpredictability. As the engagement reached its climax, the Starhawk performed maneuvers that would be studied in military academies for centuries. Quantum displacement, adaptive camouflage, psychological warfare, all combined into a symphony of technological innovation. The Starkul fleet, once a perfect machine of conquest, began to fragment. Captain Rodriguez allowed himself a slight smile. "Probability," he muttered, "is just a failure of imagination." In the vast emptiness of the Crimson Nebula, 50 humans had done what entire advanced civilizations could not. They had introduced chaos into the most perfect system in the universe. And they were just getting started. The diplomatic chamber of the Galactic Confederation stretched beyond human comprehension, a massive spherical space where representatives from over 200 civilizations gathered. Crystal-based life forms stood beside energy-based consciousness streams. Molecular networks intermingled with silicon-based intelligences. And at the center of it all, 50 humans who had just rewritten the fundamental understanding of galactic conflict. Admiral Elizabeth Reyes stepped forward, her presence drawing every form of consciousness to absolute attention. She wore no ornate diplomatic attire. Her uniform was simple, functional, a testament to human practicality. "We're not here to be celebrated," she began, her voice cutting through translation systems that struggled to capture the nuance of human communication. "We're here to change how you understand survival." The diplomatic chamber had witnessed the fall of civilizations. They had watched advanced races with technologies beyond human imagination crumble before the Starkul. And now 50 humans had done what no one thought possible. Dr. Michael Chen stood beside her, his hands clasped behind his back. Where other scientific representatives used complex holographic displays and intricate communication devices, Chen carried a simple tablet, a deliberate choice that spoke volumes about human approach to technology. The luminous concordance representative, a being of pure energy that typically communicated through complex mathematical equations, struggled to form words. "Your methods defy comprehension," it finally transmitted. "You have introduced chaos as a strategic weapon." Sarah Martinez, standing with the delegation, allowed herself a slight smile. The technological exchange that followed was nothing short of revolutionary. Civilizations that had spent millennia developing specialized technologies watched as humans demonstrated a fundamentally different approach. Where other races developed single-purpose tools, humans created adaptive systems that could transform on a moment's notice. A defensive shield generator captured from the HFY, which took the quantum harmonics of Zeller Prime decades to attempt to understand, was completely reimagined by Jack Williams in less than 72 hours. What was once a weapon of mass destruction became a medical regeneration system that could heal entire planetary ecosystems. The diplomatic exchanges were not traditional. They were an exploration of human potential. "Your technological approach is fundamentally irrational," proclaimed a representative from the molecular restructuring collectives. The statement was meant as criticism. The humans heard it as a compliment. Lieutenant Marcus Chen stepped forward, presenting a series of technological adaptations that made the most advanced civilizations reconsider everything they knew about innovation. Communication systems that could adapt in real time. Energy generation methods that drew power from quantum uncertainties. Defensive technologies that transformed threat into opportunity. Dr. Elena Reyes presented the psychological warfare protocols that had systematically dismantled the HFY's collective consciousness. It wasn't a weapon presentation. It was a masterclass in understanding complex systems. "Perfection," she explained, "is the greatest vulnerability." The technological and strategic exchanges went beyond traditional diplomatic protocols. Entire civilizations began to understand that survival wasn't about absolute technological superiority. It was about adaptability, about the willingness to break one's own rules. Jack Williams demonstrated environmental adaptation technologies that could transform hostile planetary conditions into habitable zones. Sarah Martinez showcased communication systems that could bridge consciousness barriers that had existed for millennia. The Confederation's most advanced scientific teams had spent centuries developing specialized technologies. The humans showed them how to create living, breathing technological ecosystems that could transform themselves in real time. "We don't see technologies as fixed systems," Michael Chen explained during one exchange. "We see them as languages waiting to be reinterpreted." The diplomatic chamber became something more than a meeting place. It became a classroom where galactic civilizations learned a new approach to existence. Admiral Reyes made it clear, this wasn't about human superiority. This was about showing that survival was an adaptive process, that the most dangerous weapon was not technology, but the willingness to fundamentally reimagine how that technology could be used. As the diplomatic session concluded, something fundamental had changed. Civilizations that had existed for millennia now looked at 50 humans with a mixture of respect, fear, and genuine curiosity. They had not just defeated the HFY. They had introduced a new paradigm of existence. Humanity was no longer a footnote in galactic history. They were the authors of a new chapter. 5 years after the defeat of the HFY, the universe looked fundamentally different. Humanity had not just survived. They had transformed the entire concept of galactic civilization. The United Earth Collaborative Research Center stood as a testament to this new reality. Where other civilizations maintained rigid, specialized research facilities, this was something entirely different. A living, breathing ecosystem of innovation that defied every known principle of scientific development. Dr. Elena Reyes walked through the central atrium, watching teams from over 50 different galactic civilizations work together in ways that would have been impossible just half a decade earlier. Molecular engineers from the verdant clusters worked alongside quantum physicists from Earth. Consciousness-based life forms collaborated with biological researchers in open, adaptive workspaces that constantly reconfigured themselves. "We're not just sharing technology," she often explained to visiting delegations. "We're creating a new language of innovation." The HFY threat had been more than defeated. It had been fundamentally reimagined. Sarah Martinez stood in the Adaptive Technology Wing, demonstrating a communication system that could bridge consciousness barriers that had existed for millennia. What was once considered impossible was now becoming routine. Civilizations that had existed in isolation for thousands of years were now engaging in unprecedented levels of collaborative research. Jack Williams was developing environmental restoration technologies that could transform entire planetary ecosystems. Worlds that had been considered uninhabitable were being reshaped, restored, given new potential. The technologies weren't just about survival anymore. They were about possibility. Lieutenant Marcus Chen managed the quantum communication network that now connected civilizations across previously unimaginable distances. The network wasn't just a communication system. It was a living, breathing entity of shared knowledge and potential. The diplomatic landscape had transformed completely. Where once civilizations maintained rigid hierarchies and competitive research models, now there was a fundamental understanding that survival was a collaborative process. The lessons learned from humanity's approach to the exarchal threat had become the new standard of galactic interaction. Admiral Elizabeth Reyes, now heading the Interstellar Collaborative Research Initiative, understood the profound shift that had occurred. It wasn't about human superiority. It was about introducing a new way of thinking. "We didn't win a war," she would explain during her lectures to emerging galactic leaders. "We demonstrated that the most powerful technology is adaptability, that the greatest weapon is the willingness to reimagine your own limitations." The technological exchanges went far beyond traditional scientific collaboration. The molecular restructuring collectives learned to create adaptive systems from human engineers. The quantum harmonics of Ziller Prime discovered new approaches to problem-solving that defied their millennia-old research protocols. Dr. Michael Chen developed what became known as adaptive consciousness protocols, technological systems that could learn, transform, and reimagine themselves in real time. These weren't just technological innovations. They were a new approach to existence itself. The exarchal threat had been a catalyst. But what emerged was something far more profound than a military victory. A new understanding of potential. Research facilities across the galaxy began to adopt human-inspired collaborative models. Rigid hierarchies dissolved. Specialized research gave way to adaptive, cross-disciplinary approaches. The most advanced civilizations began to understand that true innovation came from the willingness to break one's own rules. Humans weren't just participants in galactic civilization anymore. They were its architects. The United Earth Collaborative Research Center became more than a facility. It was a symbol of a fundamental shift in how civilizations could exist, interact, and innovate. Sarah Martinez looked out over the adaptive research spaces, watching teams from different species work together in ways that would have been impossible just years before. Molecular structures danced in holographic displays. Consciousness streams intermingled. Technological systems adapted in real time. "We're not just sharing knowledge," she would often say. "We're creating a new language of existence." As the sun set on another day of unprecedented collaboration, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The defeat of the exarchal was no longer just a military victory. It was the moment when humanity introduced a new way of understanding potential. Not through conquest, but through the most powerful force in existence, the ability to reimagine everything.